we will be introducing the president of the PAFP Manila chapter, who will be doing our opening remarks. She is no other than Dr. Rosa Marie Flores. Dr. Rosa Marie Flores is a Bachelor of Science in Pre-Medicine degree at the University of the Philippines in UP Diliman, and she earned her Doctor of Medicine degree from the University of East Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Medical Center. She has a master's in public health at the UP College of Public Health, Manila. She is a diplomate in family medicine confirmed by the Specialty Board in Family Medicine of the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians. She is a fellow of the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, associate member of the Philippine College of Physicians. She also has She is presently the president of the PAFP Manila chapter, vice chair and active consultant of the Manila Doctors Hospital, Department of Family and Community Medicine. She is a current professor and past chair of the Department of Family and Community Medicine, Manila Theological College, College of Manila, Santa Mesa, Manila. She's a Quality Assurance Committee coordinator at the Manila Doctors Hospital. She's also the Quality Assurance Coordinator of the PAFP National. She's the Facets Telemedicine PAFP Manila Chapter Coordinator, the Mortality and Tissue Audit Representative of the Manila Doctors DOH, and she's a board member of the UP Delta Lambda Sigma Sorority Alumni Corporation. So I'd like to introduce to you the president of the PAFP. Let us all welcome Dr. Rosa Marie Flores.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Rosa Marie Flores. We are so thrilled to welcome all of you to listen to two interesting topics we have for tonight. Because of the pandemic, most of us must not have known how to do our finances. So that's why the Manulife China Bank will talk about how to do your finances. And then the second topic, a very interesting one also, is the advocacy of Dr. Charles Edward Florendo, our diplomate of the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, who's going to talk about sleep. Sleep, because most of us, because of the pandemic, or even now, when the pandemic is still here, we are unable to sleep sometimes or most of the time. So the moderator for tonight is going to be Dr. Angelina Villarroya, another diplomate of the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, after which we'll go to Manulife first. Okay. Thank you.
Our moderator for tonight's event is a double BS degree holder. She has a Bachelor of Science in Medical Technology from the University of Santo Tomas and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of La Salette. She has a doctorate on medicine from the Manila Central University, and she is a certified acupuncturist from the Philippine Institute of Alternative and Traditional Healthcare. She is a diplomate in family medicine from the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, and she's the treasurer of the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians Manila chapter. Uy, mayaman to. Okay. Along with her husband, who is a pharmacist and doctor, they operate a clinic in Tayuman, Manila, while both her son and her daughter-in-law are both senior residents at the National Center of Mental Health. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our moderator for tonight's event, no other than Dr. Chit Villarroya.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening to all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, my dear fellow doctors and guests. I want to extend a very warm greetings to each and every one of you. It's great to have you all here tonight. Welcome to the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians Manila Chapter webinar entitled How to Sleep Like a Baby. But before that, we will have a talk about the topic Ensuring a Bright Future from Manulife China Bank. Our speaker is Mr. Juan Miguel Javellana, who joined Manulife China Bank Life Assurance Corporation or MCBL in 2019 and is currently the company's vice president and head of training. Prior to joining MCBL, he has had over 2 decades of work experience in the fields of insurance, banking, and real estate. He has held various management positions in those three fields. Mr. Javellana is a graduate of the Ateneo de Manila University and has an MBA from the Asian Institute of Management. Without further ado, here is Mr. Javellana about his talk.
Okay. Uh, just to check, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I can
Sure.
hear you.
Mga doc.
Sir, you can share your slide.
Yeah, I'll share my screen right now. Okay. Yan. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good evening. Now I know I have limited time and mukhang very interesting ang topic that's following mine. How to sleep. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank the Academy for inviting us over to talk about bright future. In this case, it's, maraming needs ang financial. Financial needs, there are a lot of those. But what we'll be focusing on tonight is all about retirement. A lot of people have notions of how retirement should go or when it should happen. But at the end of the day, that is a very personal decision for all of you guys. So this is one thing I like about talking to the clients or to doctors, to specialists, because at the end of the day, we are going to be able to, for me, it's an advocacy, basically. That's why when I was invited to do this, I really jumped at it because I normally do talks for TESDA, talks for PTAs, Parent Teacher Association. So it's an honor for me to be invited to a doctors association. So thank you for the invite. With me tonight are representatives from both China Bank and MCBL. So I'll be flashing them on the screen later. But to start off, what we're going to be talking about right now is how do we ensure a bright future? Ito ang masaklap po dyan. No matter how much we try to ensure something, at the end of the day, we're still not sure it will happen. Okay? There are times when you study and study and study. I've seen you guys, you have so many degrees, but at the end of the day, not even matter how prepared you are, at the end of the day, something can go wrong. So I'm not saying that to dissuade you. I'm just saying that that's a fact of life. Ganun lang talaga po yun. Okay? But it always helps to prepare. Okay? So you hope for the best, you prepare for the worst. Now, when we talk about retirement, we always talk about living a life of relaxation. So at the end of the day, it's not about magre-retire ako, I'll just stay home, kakain ako ng munggo. Hindi ganun yun eh. There's nobody in this room, nobody on this earth who's going to say, I'm going to retire and I'm going to keep working. Diba? Now, that's kind of something else. Now, kasi the other thing that we also want to do is spend time with our family. Diba? When we go meet our maker, which we all will, okay, we all will, nobody's ever going to say, sayang, I spent too much time with my family. It's never going to happen. It's always kulang ang oras ko sa pamilya ko. And later on, we always want to say, I should have done that. Okay, doing things you love. 3 weeks ago, I did a very controversial thing, okay? Which, I'm an only child, okay? So, my parents still have a control over me, okay? Anyway, alam mo naman, pag only child ka, wala kang choice eh. Wala, ikaw magbabantay ng parents mo, But they don't live with me, they're in Makati, I'm in Pasig. But what's interesting is that I had a really long argument with my dad because I'm already 44 and I bought a motorcycle. Okay, so that's a controversial thing. I bought a motorcycle. But at the end of the day, I said, when will I do something I want to try before I grow old? So for us, doing things you love is what you want to do. As doctors, I'm sure you love doing what you do every single day. because you're in the business of saving lives. Very different type of ano nga tawag dito, accomplished feeling you get from that. And of course, you all want and you all deserve the best type of retirement. Now, a lot of people would ask me, Mami, ano ba talaga ang story behind retirement? Okay. Ganito lang yan. So if I may ask a question to the doctors, when do you spend more money? On a weekday or on a weekend? Sige nga. To the doctors, when do you spend more money? Weekday or weekend?
Weekend.
Magkaaminan na, weekend. Okay? So when you talk about retirement, ladies and gentlemen, it is a weekend every day. Okay? If you really think about it, it becomes a weekend every day. Before I joined MCBL, I couldn't join immediately from the former company I was in because of a non-compete thing. So I was not working for 3-4 months. In those 3-4 months, I spent so much money. Kasi when you're home doing nothing, at the end of the day, you're gonna look, oh, bakit nandyan yung outlet na yan? Kailangan palitan ng location yan. Bakit ganyan ang sofa? Kailangan iurong yan. So you make a lot of changes are totally unnecessary. But when you are retired, you have all the time in the world para tingnan ko anong mali sa surroundings mo, palitan. That's why you end up spending more. My father, when I was not working in that 4-month period, ginawa niya akong driver, which to me is fine, I love driving. So they hang out at the court, may McDonald's dyan sa corner ng Julia Vargas at Julia Vargas at sa Chendesitas na road. Meron yan. So they're gonna, may barkada siya dyan. Okay, my father's pushing 70. So pinag-uusapan nila the usual. Anong gamot mo? Pinag-uusapan nila. So it starts out cheap, McDonald's. Pero pagdating ng alas 11, mag-e-edsa siyang yung mga yan. Yung point ko lang, mga kapatid, is that at the end of the day, you tend to spend more when you don't have anything to do because you go out. And that is what retirement is all about. And that is why you have to prepare for it, because you don't want to be, sad when you retire. Okay? For those of us with children, if we retire comfortably, you think they will love you? Of course, they will love you. If you retire rich, your children will say, ang tagal na ni mami dyan sa'yo, dito naman siya. Di ba? Magaganon yan. Kung mag-retire tayo walang kaya, magpapasapasan. And that is a fact of life. So now, the question is, what is the real story about retirement? Is it all about age? Di ba? In the government and the private corporations, age, it's all about 56, 65. Sa government, 56 na yung bagong rule, 65. Now, here's what's interesting. If we look at life expectancy, lugi ang lalaki, 65, nag-retire. Pagdating nag-66, patay na siya eh. So hindi niya talaga he did enjoy his retirement. So the key, ladies and gentlemen, is it to stretch your retirement? It's actually to make it earlier. Okay, so that's the key. It's retire earlier. And the only way you can retire earlier is to follow some basic principles, which I will show you in a while. Now, the next question that people will ask me, Mami, is it all about age? Or is it about ability? Is it about your capacity to be able to retire? Sa totoo lang, it's capacity. Why? Some people cannot retire because some people, I don't know about doctors, I don't think you guys have this, are reliant on a pension. Okay? For SSS, the maximum pension is 16,000 a month. For GSIS, that's 27,000 a month. By the time you retire, in all honesty, sa maintenance meds pa lang, wala na yan. Sa totoo lang. Why? To the doctors in the room, please don't try to diagnose me, but I will tell you now. I am perfectly not healthy. Ako, particularly, I'm perfectly not healthy. I am diabetic. I have hypertension. I have high cholesterol. Okay? So, dun pa lang, naka-glumet ako, naka-lupimet, so alam ko yung gamot ko, Aprobel. So at the end of that, Roswin, yan, para alam nyo na yung gamot ko. But at the end of the day, dun pa lang, mga 6,000 na yan a month eh. Yun pa lang, ako pa lang yun. Okay, hindi pa ako kumakain doon, di ba? But that's the whole point. When we go retire, the older we get, the more needs we have. And that's the truth. This is the pension. So here's the question for you guys. Okay? How much do you think you need if you were to retire today? I'd like you to imagine. Think about it. You don't need to answer. It's a personal question. Think about it. Put it in your minds. Close your eyes and say, ano kaya ang kailangan ko kung magre-retire ako today? Hindi na ako mag-clinic. Si Doc Flores, kanina nakita mo yung credentials. Ang dami. Di ba? One of those that jumped out to me, ma'am, was Manila Doctors. You know why? Because that is a hospital that's very close to my heart. Kasi po, dun dati nagdadialysis ang grandmother ko. At dun din siya, for lack of a better term, natuluyan. I will remember that because I was at 16 years old at that time. So no, 16 years old, 1996, I was the one who drove her to her dialysis every day nung summer break. And that was the time I was the one who drove her to the last. Kasi hindi na siya umalis from the hospital on that one dialysis time. So wala. Maddox yun, Maddox. Yung doktor niya, baka kilala niyo, Dr. Gutierrez. Tsaka si Piedad. Gutierrez, Fernando Piedad, yun yung doktor niya. Anyway, so you have to ask, di ba? How much do I need to fund my retirement if I were to retire today? Pick it. Kano? Di ba? Has anybody ever thought about that? What's the figure? Is it 10 million? 2 million? 1 million? 3 million? What's the figure? We don't do the figure. Di ba? You have an estimate in your mind, but do you think that is an estimate that will work? Some people will go, let's go high, 50 billion. Okay. The higher the bet, wala naman magre-reklamo eh. Diba? Pag sobra yung retirement fund mo, wala naman magre-reklamo. Walang magre-reklamo. But the question is, what's the minimum? And that is what we're going to discuss today. We're not going to focus on the product. We're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the discipline of how we come up with it. Now, the first thing I guess we have to ask is, we have to consider your expenses if you are to retire today. Diba? Household and rent, kunyari lang 50,000. Kunyari lang, children's education, 50,000. Food, lakas kayo kumain, 75,000. Health, 25,000. A month, okay, for the entire family. So this means, na if you were to retire today and if you were to last for another 15 years, because you don't know how long you last, so you say, I'll provide myself 15 years, I'll provide myself 20 years. In my example, you spend 200,000 a month for 12 months, so that's 2.4 million a year. You multiply it by 15 years, that means to retire comfortably for 15 years, you're going to need 33.6 million pesos. Diba? 33.6 million pesos. But at the end of the day, is it what you really need? Why? Ano? Ngayon ka ba magre-retire? Or hindi pa? The thing with doctors that's interesting is I don't think you guys ever retire. Honestly, I don't think doctors retire. You are one profession na the longer the experience, the more valued you get. Kasi the younger the doctor, pasensya na, the more they panic eh. The older I've seen that. You know what I mean? Parang, kaya nga practice ang tao because you've seen it. You've gone through it. It has happened. So you guys are so experienced. So that's why I think I'm not so sure if you do retire. Probably you slow down, but I don't see you guys really retiring. But the question is, when do you slow down? When you think it's going to happen? It's not going to happen tomorrow, right? Probably going to happen years from now, right? And when you do that, you're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to have to address it. And you're going to have to be scientific about it. A lot of times people will tell me, Wami, we can estimate. But at the end of the day, numbers do not lie. When I always present, it's always a numbers-based thing for me. It's never about suppositions. It's about letting the math talk, but the assumptions come from the clients. And that is the discipline we are trying, or we instill in MCBL. So whenever we do this, it's a personalized thing. Why? Because All of us are at different ages. All of us have different expenses. All of us have different time frames. So if anybody tells you that one product will fit all of you, run. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Okay? So how do we address this need to have a comfortable retirement? It's all about preparation. So let's take this as an example. No? You are 40 years old. Kunyari lang. Kunyari, you're 40 years old, your family is growing, you spend about 200,000 a month. Kunyari lang. So in your case, you intend to not retire, maybe slow down when you reach 65. So that's 25 years from now. So the question is, how much do you need to maintain your current lifestyle? Okay? So this is the discipline we will show. So the first thing that we do is always draw it. I've learned that people are more visual. No? We appreciate visual things. That's why sa totoo lang, the music video came out. Kanina when I entered the room, it was interesting. You had Sing, you had Frozen. My God, there's like, I have a 6-year-old daughter, so good luck to me. I've seen those songs so many times, okay? So again, back to visual. How does it work? You do a timeline. It's always, you start at the start. So, kanina, for example, dating 40, magre-retire and it spends 200,000 a month, which is about 2.4 a year. Tapos magre-retire at 65. So that's 25 years. So you have 25 years from 40 to 65. Guys, the longer time frame you have, the easier it is for you to accumulate. The shorter the time frame, the harder it is. Okay? So it's like, kunyari, you're gonna send a child to school, diba? If it happens 10 years from now, you have time to prepare. If it happens tomorrow, you're gonna need a credit card. So at the end of the day, retirement's the same thing. The longer your runway, the better for you. And let's say you project the life will be around up to 80. Kunyari lang. So that means you have 15 years to provide for. Now, the first question that has to be answered, dear doctors, is how much is 2.4 million pesos worth 25 years from now? Yeah? 2.4 million now, when you retire 25 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years now, is very different. Because of the concept of inflation, di ba? Ako naman po, aaminin ko, naabutan ko po na 2 piso pa yung Coke. Hindi ko alam kung naabutan niya. Sigurado ko naabutan ng iba natin dito. 2 piso lang ang Coke, naabutan ko. Magkano na yung Coke ngayon? 35, di ba? O, ilang doble-doble na yon. So the point I'm making is, over time, prices will rise. So if we're going to start saying, nah, that's not gonna happen, we all know that's not true. Gasoline, my dad was telling me, gasoline was 65 cents a liter before. Kotse niya, yung Beetle na Volkswagen, 65 centavos a liter. How much is it now? 70 pesos a liter, di ba? So inflation is a fact of life. So the first question is, how much is 2.4 million per year worth 25 years from now? Now, let me introduce you to something that is interesting. It is what we call a financial calculator. Okay, and our FSAs are trained to use this. So you're gonna say 24 million, 2.4 million at 3%. Let's assume 3% inflation after 25 years is now worth, 5 million. Call it 5.1 million. So your 2.4 million a year now is worth only 5.1 million later on. Why? Because that's the amount of goods and services you can buy na pareho lang. 5.1 million. But that's only for 1 year, ladies and gentlemen. 5.1 will at 65 will only happen 1 year. So now the question is, how much will you need at age 65 when you do retire to fund 5.1 million a year for 15 years? A lot of people will simply say, you know what, I'll take 5.1 and I'll multiply it by 15 years. Okay? 5.1, I'll multiply it by 15 years. Then I'll have like something like 76 million. So I need 76 million, something like that. But pag nag-retire ka, hindi mo naman ilalagay yung pera sa ilalim ng kama mo, di ba? Iiwan mo rin naman sa bangko yan, iiwan mo naman sa investment yan. So it's going to earn over time. So 76 million is a bloated figure. It's a bloated figure. Hindi naman ganun yun. But you also have to take note. Kung nag-withdraw ka ng 5.1 million pagdating ng 65, pagdating mo ng 66, mag-withdraw ka rin ng mas mataas na amount. Bakit? Tumaas ang presyo by 3%. Inflation. Again, the example, 2 piso lang yung Coke. Naabutan ko po yun. So now, here's the magic of the computation. Here's the magic. If we assume lang ha, that's why I'm saying all of these are based on assumptions. The math will flow. The importance is the assumptions, which the client, which you guys have to decide when you come out of this and when you consult. No? Let's say the inflation rate is 3%. So lumalaki ang gastusin by 3% every year, but you can earn 8%. So kunyari, you're earning 8%, pero tumataas ang bilihin by 3%. So a lot of people will say, how do we compute pag ganun? Paano kung, mahirap ka, math na yan eh. Excel ko ba yan, di ba? Very simple. You just have to adjust the rate. So may formula yan. I won't bore you with the formula, but net-net, what happens is, if you take into account 8% return and you take into account 3% inflation, your actual rate of return is 4.8%. Again, we're trained to compute that. Don't worry about that. Now, 4.8%. So, if you were to withdraw 5.1 million a year for 25 years, for 15 years, kasi yun yung retirement period mo, 15 years, and your adjusted rate is 4.8%, you will only need not 77 million, 56 M. Okay, alam ko malaki pa rin siya. But remember, you're withdrawing 5.1 million na palaki ng palaki for 15 years. So you're going to need a sizable amount. So it's going to be about 56 million. Now, at 56 M, normally, so you need 56, round up na natin, 57 million. Normally, I don't show a product. Okay, but what I want to show you is how we can address the withdrawals. You can use this with any insurance product, but I just chose one product para madali. No? So here, what we have is a new product. This was launched last month. Okay, MCBL Future Boost. So here, what happens is you invest about 1.1 million every year for 5 years and an additional 1.1 million for another 5 years. So basically 11 million, more or less. Okay. Alam ko malaki yun. But hear me out. That 11 million investment, which you can see here, broken down on a yearly basis. If you're to fund your retirement with it, remember, I gave you the magic number. At age 65, you have to have about 57 million. So since we're projecting at 8%, which is our assumption, 57 million. Okay, here's the beauty. I programmed in the withdrawals na. Kung napansin nyo, yung withdrawals po, palaki ng palaki. 5.1, 5.2, 5.4, 5.5, 5.7. Why? Because it's growing every year by 3%. So if it's growing every year by 3%, by the time you withdraw at age 80, 7.7 million na siya. Nagsimula tayo ng 5.1. See? You see how big it gets over time. But if since the computation is correct, it is still supported. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin siya. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang program. And that is the beauty of the computation. It is something that, it's not about the product, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just showing you the product because I want to show you the withdrawals. But at the end of the day, this can be done with our other products or other companies' products in all honesty. But what is important is the discipline of how to compute for how much. Because iba-iba yan, portako. Now, people will always ask me, Wami, kasi they will say, what have you started? They'll always tell me, why? Why should I start? And the answer is, the time to start is always now. People will tell me, Wami, that's so self-serving. No, for me, no, it's not self-serving. Because I have math to back me up. Let's say you have a first investor, investor one. Sorry, no, I want to boss this. He saves for only 10 years, 500,000 a year. He starts at age 31, he ends at 40, 500,000 a year. So naglabas siya ng 5 million. Okay? Another investor starts 10 years later. Pero mayaman to eh. He gives more than 500,000 a year. Puts in 650 a year. 650. He puts in 650 for 20 years. In fact, i-total mo 13 million yan. So di hamak na mas malaking nilagay niya, di ba? Pero tingnan nyo, at the same rate of return, I think I used 8% here. At the same rate of return, mas malaki pa rin ang makukuha ng nagpasok ng 5 million at age 60 kaysa sa 13 million na halos habang buhay na siya nagbabayad. So the key, ladies and gentlemen, is to remember time is our friend. The earlier we start, the better. Which is why if you haven't started, it's always now. So, I have, to end, in summary, okay, there are a couple of points I just want to make, and I want to remind you, the doctors, no? Much of this is like diagnosing a patient. There are big questions. Diba? Whenever you get a new patient, you don't go, oh, ito sa'yo. Ka-approval. Walang ganun eh, diba? Tatanungin niyo muna. I've had doctors who've asked me, okay, tell me your routine. What do you do when you wake up? Kasi allergies eh. What do you do when you wake up? So what's your soap? May ganun pa yan eh. There's so many questions. Just like in financial planning, there's so many questions. And normally it's like, would you want to retire comfortably? Would you want to afford the best healthcare possible? Would you want your children to go to schools where? Here, the US? Usually, ganun lang yung Pinoy. Simple lang eh. And finally, would you want your family to move on should anything happen to you? 4 questions. Normally, yun. So those are what we have to answer. Today, we're more or less tackling the discipline of 1 question. Wouldn't you want to retire comfortably? The next thing that I guess is very important, there's no one size fits all for all our needs. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina. It is very personalized, just like medicine. The wrong mix, diba? One medicine will not go with another. Same thing with one product that may not go with another. Let me give you an example that we can all relate to. So, for the women who have hair, because ako wala na po akong buhok, women, not for anything. Napansin ko talaga, you guys really, invest, I guess is the best word, in hair products. Not one woman I know has only one hair product. Not one woman I know for their hair. They have shampoo, conditioner, hair dye, hair straightening, hair vitamin, lahat meron. What's the point? The point I'm making is there is no one product that will fix all your financial needs. Normally, it is a mixture of a lot of things. You can never do without a savings account. You will never work without a credit card. Lalo na pag online ka bumili ngayon. How are you gonna do it without a credit card? It's never gonna work. Your financial world will never work without a time deposit. It will never work without the stock market. Yeah? Ang dami. A lot of people invest in real estate. So again, no one size fits all. It all depends on what you want. Okay? I'll give you an example. Some people will buy a condo. Why? Ipapamana ko sa anak ko. Valid. So how much do you pay for condo? That's worth 5 million. You pay 5 million. Diba? Kung ipapamana mo rin, 5 million value. Hopefully, it goes up later on. Okay? There are some products na you pay only 1 million, pag namatay ka, 5 million na nakukuha. See, so it depends on what you want. So there's no one size fits all. It just depends on your needs. Next, the vehicle you choose should match the goal. So if your goal is 15 years from now, don't leave the bulk of your resources in something that is valued on a monthly basis. You're going to have to look at something that goes longer term than that. It's like if you want to go to Baguio, pwede ka mag-bike. Diba? Normally, bike from siguro within a kilometer. Diba? Pero kung mag-bike ka ng Baguio, siguro isang taon makakarating ka ng Baguio. Pero bakat ka naman. But you're so fit by that time. Pero 1 year. Diba? So it depends on what you want. The right vehicle has to be chosen. And finally, the time to start is always now. So I hope I was able to impart a little bit of our discipline to you guys about how to compute. It's all about computation. A lot of people will tell me it's about the product. No, the product is the last thing you talk about. The first thing you talk about is kano ba ang kailangan? Ano bang lifestyle ko? A lot of people will say, let's retire, blah, blah, blah. Let's save in this. yung plano pala mag-retire sa Australia. Bakit pesong iniinvestan mo? Dapat dollar. So those are things, questions that have to be unearthed, and then the computation happens. So with that, I would like to introduce them. We have two people who have invited me to speak in front of you guys, the Academy. So again, thank you for inviting us. And this was arranged with China Bank Tomas Mapua branch. No? So the branch manager is Miss Rachel Negosa. Her number is on the screen. The FSA of the branch is Clarice de los Santos. Her number is also on the screen. So the computation discipline that I just shared with you, our FSAs are trained to do that. They're trained to also talk about the other needs, no? But for this one, we're highlighting the need for retirement. And with that, as we said by MCBL, no, we can help make it every day better for you guys. Because for me, again, honestly, for me, this is an advocacy. I always want the Filipino people to be financially sound. There's nothing better than a society where everybody, is happy at the financial level. So with that, I hope I stayed within my time limit. I would like to thank you, all of you, the organizers, the Academy, for giving us the time to speak to you. And just in case you have any questions, I'm still here. So I will turn it over back to our moderator, Dr. Angelina Villarroya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Javellana, for that talk. The only thing that comes into mind is to be prepared. I thought being retired is easy. It's not easy at all.
No.
You have to be prepared, and you should be always you should always know what you should do, and the time is now, really. So
Doc, alam mo, try mo na wag ka magtrabaho for 1 week. Tingnan mo kung kailan ka mas magastos. Kung hindi ka nagtatrabaho ka. Try mo lang.
that's it. I think that's an eye-opener. Right, Dr. Rose?
Yes, actually, a lot of us had experiences during the pandemic. No, we didn't have work for a while, or we were taking in less hours. So you could see the that was the time. No, you could really feel the time at home. Yes.
So yun. So again, thank you to all of you for inviting us over. Maraming salamat.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank
Ma'am.
you.
Thank you.